In this video, we are going to create the rollovers for the menu bar up at the top of the page so that we get some really cool boxes around whatever selection our mouse is hovering over at the time.
All right.
So, Rob, do your thing, man.
Okay. Earlier when we made our menu bar, we made it pretty plain.
Sure, it's just a list of words.
It's a list of words, and there's nothing wrong with that. We just want to make it a little more snazzy, so that when your mouse hovers over them, something happens.
It throws in a little interaction. You know?
Right. Gives you more, at least if nothing else, it gives the user some feedback that they are buttons that do stuff. And so the first thing I want to do here, I want to check and make sure that this lines up, and it doesn't. So I'm going to use my guide. I'm going to move this a little bit further.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's close our recall and come back down to our header. And you see here we have our menu bar. So I'm nudge him over a little bit just to make sure it lines up. And then what I have in mind is I'm going to be putting boxes underneath the words.
Okay.
And they're going to be hollowed out boxes. So it's just going to be like a 1 pixel outline.
Sure.
Something about this size. Now, in order to do that, I think our things are too close together. If you were to roll over these two things right next to each other, it would look kind of weird because you would have like this one line that was always on.
Right.
So I'm going to space out the words a little bit more, which is good to do now because it really doesn't matter at this point. I'm going to add 2 more spaces between each word and see how that works.
It'll probably work.
I think it should work.
Yeah.
It's looking better already. And I'm going to nudge it back so that it lines up with that guide there.
Oh, and if you have a lot of nudging to do, hold down Shift while you nudge, and you can take kind of a jump.
Right. Okay. And so we have it in place and ready to go. I'm going to add a new layer here.
Okay.
We'll call this the box.
Ooh.
Boxes. And I'm actually going to put it underneath the type.
Now, are you going to have all the boxes on one layer?
Good question. And the answer is probably.
Okay.
Because it's not going to affect one way or another.
All right.
When we eventually need to export these as buttons, we're going to slice each one of these things up into different buttons. But it won't be affected by the layers. It will be affected by what's on the screen.
Okay, cool.
Okay. So let's select our box layer. And we're going to start here. I'm going to put a guide for my top and bottom. This is just sort of eyeballing.
Sure.
A good idea.
Well, it looks pretty good to me.
I think that's going to work. I'm going to fill this area with white, hitting Control Delete. So, and then the next thing I'm going to do is go to Select, Modify, Contract. And you want to contract by 1 pixel. Now when you do that, you'll notice
that your little marching ants are now just inside that box.
They are, in fact, 1 pixel smaller. So if you hit the Delete key at this point,
boom, you just hollowed out your box.
That's right.
Cool.
So we have a pretty cool looking box here, and we need to duplicate that all across the line. So if you select the box and then hold down, which one is it going to be?
Control, Alt, and Shift, probably.
Control, Alt. I think you have to have your Move tool. I'm not entirely sure. Okay. Select your Move tool. Hold down Alt for sure. And Shift.
Oh, it's just Alt and Shift.
Alt and Shift.
Okay.
And so I'm going to move him over sort of visually to start with, and then nudge it closer.
I gotcha.
And then I'm going to deselect. And you know what? I'm going to get rid of the guides. I don't need them at this time.
All right.
So I'm going to hide them. And I'm going to, instead of copying, let's go back to the Move tool. I'm going to be cutting.
And
see what that does? But just the Move tool. I don't think you don't even have to hold down a key to do that.
Okay.
It automatically cuts.
I gotcha. Very cool. But you use Shift to move it sideways without going up or down.
Exactly.
I gotcha.
That helps constrain. So you don't want it to go wonky on you. So let's keep going. Move tool. Copying. And I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And I'm going to deselect it. And kind of break it apart so we can get our end point.
Mm-hmm. Again, it's just shift dragging.
Mm-hmm.
But now we have this gap in our box.
Right. So how are we going to fill the gap?
I don't know.
I'm
scared.
Easy. It's easy. You just select one of this part.
Yeah.
Or this part. It doesn't matter. Go back to your move tool. Hold down that Alt key.
Mm-hmm.
Hold down that Shift key while you're going.
So Alt and Shift.
And there you still have a small gap, so you do it again. You just let go of the mouse
so
and do it again.
You're just kind of dragging out new copies of those lines.
Exactly.
Very cool.
Instant extension.
Nice.
Okay. So we have 2 more. I'm going to select and drag.
Mm-hmm.
Or copy in this case. And then deselect. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and cut out in advance a huge chunk.
Yeah, that makes sense.
In fact, I'm going to cut out this much. I'm just kind of eyeballing it.
Sure.
But you don't want to have too much because then you'll have
on the
parts going out over here.
Yeah.
Now I'll just move it holding down my Shift key. That's pretty good right there. And one more time.
That good old Windows.
Good old Windows.
Gotta
Here we
love
are.
it.
Here we are. So, that looks pretty good.
Yeah.
I like that. And so these won't all be on at the same time. Only when you roll over it will this pop up, these little boxes.
I gotcha.
And so most of the time it will look like this. And for like you roll over history and only the history
you'll get
box
a little
will pop
box
up.
around history.
Exactly.
Very nice.
That's the idea.
All right, so I guess that's going to wrap it up for this video, and I think that's going to wrap it up for the home page, is it not?
This is the whole home page.
All right, so thank you very much.